Hello, this is Matthew Epstein, and I wanted to make a short video of a personal postmortem for our game Take Down the Crown. Take Down the Crown is a third-person RPG based game that was heavily inspired by some of the Zelda elements, uh, but over time we ended up having it play a little bit like Dark Souls as well. So that's the game's main influences. For this project, I was a systems designer, so working on different player mechanics and different environment mechanics. So really, a lot of my time was spent developing mechanics for the game, as well as some of the sound design in our game. I knew that for this project that we were not going to work with an audio team. With that being said, I wanted to spend time to go find good assets for our project, and then when needed, I went out and tweaked them and made them so that they conveyed the message well enough that I didn't necessarily need a person. But at the same time, if I gave that over to a professional, they could take it from pretty good to awesome. Anyways, the mechanics I worked on specifically was the bow, the ice rod, partially worked on the fire rod, the sword and shield, and the code behind the shielding. I worked in the animation state for a little bit to do some frame timing stuff that we'll talk about that later. I created this rising water mechanic that paired with the ice rod, as well as the mana system that the player is using, the UI elements involved with the player, and some environmental props and different triggers that would involve with the game. The things that I'm most happy with that I worked on, again, I like how our game sounds. Most of it was done by me. A lot of my time was spent going through and taking some stock sounds and making them more akin to what we wanted for our game. So that I know that's not a specific game designer tool, but it is a means of communicating with other teams. So aside from that, the bow and the ice rod, those are kind of my babies. Those are the mechanics that I worked on and tried to make the best presentation of. And yeah. Next, I would like to talk about some of the things that went well with this project. So, this project was a 4-month-long project for our capstone and at Full Sail University. The biggest thing that I enjoyed about this project, the thing that went well, was that this was a great learning experience for everyone. Being able to work with a team of designers over months and just learning how to work with each other, how to plan, how to be able to adapt and work with what people need. And also, with the good, the bad. So, times where our team was getting a little frustrated with each other and, being a part of the conflict resolution in our team and, learning how to get from the forming, the storming, and the norming stages of teamwork. And the other thing that I enjoyed about this project that I thought that went well was the mechanic design elements that I worked on. It was nice to be able to look up things when I needed to, but also I would just sometimes just kind of work off the cuff with it. So just making my own unique way of doing things, right or wrong. Then next, more importantly, things that didn't go well with the project. So these are things that if we had 2 more months in development to deliver this as a game, these are things that I would love to be able to go back and uh, learn from it and change about our game. So, the first thing that went really wrong with our project is month 1, month 2, we had a lot of feedback between the different teams that were interacting with our game. But after month 2, we didn't really get much playtesting from other people. So what this landed up being is we were blindsided to some of the problems that existed in our project. So from an outside perspective, one major issue that we had was the pacing of our combat in our game. So we had AIs that would just run up to you, and you can predict exactly when they were going to swing their sword, and the melee combat was very predictable and slow paced. And there was also times where you'd be doing one of the boss fights, and for every attack that you could potentially get off, the boss would have 4, which led to a lot of frustrating moments when trying to test and work with our AI designer. And this led to some points of frustration with our playtesters and even within the team. So thankfully that got addressed by the midpoint in the project, but the fact is it came a little too late. The other thing that I would say did not go well with the project is I got some questionable feedback from the lab techs. I was working on that sword mechanic, and in its early stages, the video I used to learn how to do it suggested a line trace, which was not a good solution. Barely worked as intended. Then it evolved into being a sphere trace and running off of the animation cues, which that was good. But the problem with that is the slash animation would only have like 1 frame that was directly in front of you, so it made it very difficult to actually use the sword correctly. So from that point forward, I got some feedback from the staff at the Full Sail, and the thing that I don't know if it was the right solution or not was working in the frame timings of the different animations. So what I mean by this is I would have a notify of when that animation begins, when it was doing an attack, after the very end of the slash, and then the end of the combo itself. So in the 30 frames that you would get for that swing, you'd have like 10 or 15 different frames to input the next input to get the next attack. So this is more of a fighting game thing that they were suggesting, like a Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, where you want to have that frame perfect timing to combo up your moves. That was something that was maybe not the best intended thing for our game. And then the next thing I want to talk about for things that did not go well with the project is our game is a Zelda-like, but we lack a lot of puzzle elements. One playtester commented that our game was a series of find the next switch, which was true, because if it wasn't a lever you were looking for, which is an on-off switch, it was a little glowing emerald that you were looking for, which is just an on-off switch, but really just one state. You hit it and it turns on or off, however you want to call it. Or the pressure plates were more of an on-off as well, because there is some of them that you had to hold down. But that's aside the point. They're all just switches to interact with. You didn't have a push block or a laser or a room where you could flip the room around or anything cool like that as a puzzle element of gameplay. And that led to some moments where where we could have improved as a team. And then the last big thing that did not go with the project is we did not fully plan out our IPM and level structure. From month one, it was kind of where we kind of agreed to just get through the month and see where the game was, and then figure out, okay, how do we want to put all these levels together and make this a cohesive game. If we sat down and talked it through and had a plan of action, a lot of problems could have been resolved early on. And then secondly, between the 7 designers on the team, we had 7 slightly different visions for the game, so we were not all together on the same beat. Some of us were using Ocarina of Time as their reference of Zelda. Some were using Twilight Princess. Basically, pick your favorite Zelda game and, that's my inspiration. Which, I'm guilty of using Ocarina of Time, and, those two are the elements that give the most gameplay feel that exists in our game. So, all in all, some more planning, some more time, and, time outside of just school to work with each other, and maybe just to be able to shoot the breeze and get everyone on the same page without necessarily it being a planning thing would have been really good for our team. So all in all, with our game, Take Down the Crown, I'm fairly happy with how it turned out. Again, it's a 4-month-long project, and working with teams of, in our case it was 7. It was a great learning experience. I'm looking forward to working on my next project. I'm still kind of doing a little bit of market research onto what would be my best move now, as far as development wise. But I know I'm going to take a few days and just soak it all in, because I just got through graduation, and I need to take that time to be able to fully recognize the fact that I'm now a game designer. Anyhow, thank you very much for listening, and have a great rest of your evening, day, whatever it is for you. All right, thank you very much.